Rock and Sand Apologetics welcomes you to Bible Study 28 of the Characters of the Lord of the Rings. This is Lesson 6 of the Foes of the Fellowship. Today we study Grima Wormtongue, so let's get right to it. Say, friend, and enter. Such malice was in them that men stepped back from him. He bared his teeth. With a hissing breath he spat before the king's feet, and darting to one side he fled down the stair. When we come to Rohan, we are introduced to several characters, most already mentioned and covered. Yet one we have not covered is Grima Wormtongue. He has somehow been able to worm his way into the confidence of the King Theoden as to be his councelor. It is in this role that Grima Wormtongue disables King Theoden to the point of near death and rules Rohan in his stead. This goes on even though valiantly challenged by Yomer, the king's nephew, Yomer's sister son. Theoden's own son dies in battle, and Yomer is put in prison at the word of Grima. Then something takes change. Gandalf arrives with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, while the latter three can do no more for the king than offer their valiant services. Gandalf sets himself to the task of drawing out the words of Saruman that Gimli has cunningly whispered in the ears, poisoning his mind against all that is good, and even his own family. Grima gets angry and tries to thwart his attempt. But Gandalf has not come unaided. He has brought with him his staff, and he is no longer Gandalf the Grey, but Gandalf the White. Opening his cloak and his new raiment fills the hall with light, and it begins to change Theoden King back to the poison that person he was before the poison took hold of his mind. This light can be called truth, and the king receives new vitality and is released from the grip of lies that had been destroying his mind. Grima is cast out and is later found with Saruman later on, and when Saruman is cast out, the two roam as beggars. Grima still servant to his lord. We see the same thing in the Bible. The words spoken by the serpent in the garden to deceive Eve brought to eternal downfall of mankind. The words spoken by the false prophets led to Israel to stray and follow gods to the point where they were both conquered and enslaved. And then there are those words that of defeat we hear in our own ears daily, telling us how miserable we are, that God could not love us, or that we are beyond his reach, or that we shall never gain victory over some secret sin in our lives. These words carry power, power to destroy if given a place in our hearts. We know that all words have power. They can be power for good or evil. It is important that we learn to use them for good, just as Gandalf used his words for good and released the king from anguish. May we also, by the Spirit of God, use our words for good, that God may come into our situation and bring about the newness of life. May we realize within us, if we be children of God, that we are known so by the grace and mercy that God has extended toward us in Jesus, his Son. May we go out and allow God to fill our mouths with his words, words of truth, that those around us will see a great light and know that Jesus is not only the truth, but their truth. Who is never at fault in what they say is perfect, able to keep their whole body in check. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. James 3, verses 2 and 6.